of business models and how startups can align with the UAE's sustainable development goals initiatives. And the format for this mentor hour will be utilizing a more, Q&A fireside chat style. And we have some questions from our end, which we'll be asking Mohammed. And at the end, we'll open it up for some Q&A with all of you in the audience. But before we continue, I'd like to introduce Mohammed to you all. So Mohammed has been with Standard Chartered since 2014 and is currently the regional lead for Standard Chartered Ventures Middle East region. And the gamut of his experience includes fintech credit analysis, financial reporting, governance, conduct, risk assessment, audit and compliance, multilateral SDG policy, and regional economic development. So, and again, thank you for being with us here today. So how I'd like to kick off the session is, can you give us an overview of SC Ventures and explain its primary purpose within Standard Chartered?
Sure, and first of all, thank you very much for your invite, and it's an honor to be part of the call today. Before sharing an overview on SC Ventures, I think I would take this opportunity to recognize what Ignite is doing in the UAE and in the region. I think great initiative. It's something which definitely helping the wider ecosystem, and myself and the wider SC Venture team, we are a huge supporter of what Ignite is doing within the DIFC and beyond. And I think the value of bringing the entire ecosystem, engaging and providing initiatives such as mentorship, bringing the entire ecosystem together is something which still requires lots of support, and we need to bring everyone together. So I thought of starting the call by just sharing that and thanking you all for making this happen. And our commitment within SC Venture is to be part of this, right? We have a responsibility, and we are part of the ecosystem. With partner with Ignite, with partner with others to even accelerate the engagement and accelerate the entire fintech ecosystem to even a further level. So thanks for that. Talking about SC Ventures, and probably most of you've seen us, we've interacted, you've heard about us in the news, but let me just share with you a detailed background on how we were set and who we are exactly. SC Ventures is the venture arm of Standard Chartered. So Standard Chartered Bank as an international bank. Of course, we exist here in the UAE. We've been here in the UAE for more than 60 years, almost 65 years. We have presence in the region, in the Middle East region, for more than 100 years, and globally in countries such as, for example, Hong Kong and many other countries, we exist for more than 150 years. So as an international bank, as a network bank with international presence, serving clients across the globe, in 2018, our board discussed and decided to create and accelerate the innovation within the bank. And the idea was, how can we, and that's exactly the discussion which happened within the board, is how can we even accelerate innovation and serve our clients better? So after, of course, a very long discussion, the board, rightly so, decided to create a separate legal entity, 100% fully owned subsidiary, referred to as SC Ventures. And while the idea was to, of course, continue accelerating innovation within the bank, our board decided to have an independent unit which would support Standard Chartered and even the entire ecosystem, building innovative solutions and addressing and meeting client requirements which could not necessarily be met by Standard Chartered Bank. That's why our brand, which refers to SC Venture, includes as well that we are here to rewire the DNA of banking, right? So rewiring the DNA of banking is the genesis of how we've started this. Now, fast forward since 2018, and very proudly, we've been able to build outside of the bank more than 30 ventures, more than 30 fintechs, focusing on deriving and innovating the fintech, the payment, the remittances, and beyond for our clients and even for others who could also include our competitors. So very shortly after setting up SC Ventures, we opened up the platform and we opened up our business to work with stakeholders, including financial institutions, other financial institutions, including of course, local corporates, global subsidiaries, government entities, so public sector, venture builders, academia. So we have lots of engagement with universities and beyond. Now, what also makes us unique is that while venture building and what we've built in terms of more than 30 ventures is a core activity, we also invest, right? So we have an investment vehicle within SC Ventures where, again, the concept is not just to invest for the sake of return. And today, of course, you're speaking about sustainability and ESG and whatever, and making sure it's purpose driven. The ultimate objective of investment is to work with strategic partners, to commercially deal with strategic partners who provide tech solutions, other kind of solutions, and then not just commercially partner with them, but also to invest in them. So far, up to date, we've made more than 20 investments. So we've invested in more than 20 entities where we hold a minority investment. And these are, again, very close partners who we work very, very closely. And in certain scenarios, we went and we've invested more than once or twice so far. Beyond that, and I think the Ignite team would be very familiar with what I would refer as a third activity, is what we call internally FinTech Bridge, right? FinTech Bridge is the third core activity which we currently run within SC Venture. It's a digital platform, and think about what Ignite is doing, but bringing the entire ecosystem under one digital umbrella. So it's a digital platform which aims to bring what we see as a fragmented ecosystem all under a very digital, very basic, very simple ecosystem, supporting corporates, supporting startups, investors, and everyone else to be even more connected and to be even more integrated. So that's the fourth or third activity which we have. Last but not least is what we initially called entrepreneurship. So it's the accelerator program which we've built initially for colleagues within Standard Charter is now available, and luckily we have a very well qualified and certified coaches who would provide the capability of doing a boot camp and fine-tuning the pitch of the startups and supporting and mentoring startups to make sure that what they provide and what they present is actually feasible, sustainable, and clear, etc., etc. So again, in a nutshell, the reason why I wanted to explain in details each one of these, because that's what makes Standard Charter or SC Venture very unique. It's not a CVC, it's not a venture builder only, but it's an end-to-end, advocate in terms of building the entire ecosystem and building and supporting the entire fintech ecosystem. I'll cover some of the more details in terms of themes and others, but let me pause here and back to you, Kenan.
Right, so there's quite an extensive portfolio for SC Ventures and Standard Bank itself. But what I'd like to ask then is, as there are quite many different aspects to it, could you shed light on the main focus areas of SC Ventures, as of right now?
Thank you very much, Kenan, and I think a very good question. Just to continue my introduction, so we are very laser focused on the activities which we run, and our strategy focuses on 4 convection themes all our activities, including the ventures we build, the investments we do, would fall under one of these four themes. And maybe just to share with the audience today, these four themes are: number one, we have what we call internally online economies and lifestyle. So this is anything to do with digital banking, with wealth and remittances, something to do with lifestyle, and we are very keen to merge finance and lifestyle, including, for example, retirement, etc., because we see them going hand in hand. So that's the first theme, right? So digital economy and or online economy and lifestyle. The second theme is digital assets. So, of course, being one of the first, organizations to look at digital asset and to support the digital asset infrastructure and to build platforms which would be well governed and well regulated internationally, not just in one country. Digital asset is a core activity for us, and that's where we've established a global digital asset fund here in the UAE, and we've managed so far to cover the entire digital asset cycle. So, through the investments, the minority investments, and the ventures we've built, we've been able to capture digital assets in a way where we cover issuance of digital assets, we cover the settlement, the custody, the exchange of digital asset, and even the tokenization. So, visualizing it in terms of the process flow of a digital asset, we've been able to cover it end to end, and that's one of the core activity, and we've established majority of our businesses here in the UAE because of the robust ecosystem. The third theme would include trade and SME, of course, being backed by Standard Chartered Bank, and being a network bank connecting, East and West. We find that, doing trade and focusing on SME is something which we are committed to, and we support organizations, clients, and institutional clients to support them processing their trade transactions. And what SC Venture focuses on is that how can we digitize and make these kind of processes even more and more efficient. And we have many examples here, considering Dubai and the UAE, an international hub and a corridor which links East and West. Last but not least, the fourth item is what we will be focusing on today, sustainability or ESG and financial inclusion. Again, looking at the bank strategy, looking at our strategy, we are very big when it comes to sustainability, ESG, and financial inclusion. And during the session today, we would be able to show some live examples from the UAE where we've been able to support ESG and even lead and show some progress when it comes to ESG and financial inclusion.
Fantastic. So, if I may as well, how do you prioritize or select which focus areas, for to invest or incubate solutions around? But that's more of a follow-up question for later. Given your presence at the recent Dubai FinTech Summit, what are the key areas of fintech infrastructure that SC Ventures is focusing on for investment in the Middle East? So if you can maybe incorporate those two together.
So, first of all, to answer your first question, and I'll come back to the Middle East because it's a very proud and successful story, which I want to share with the audience. So, firstly, in terms of in terms of our focus areas and how we determine investment, I've mentioned at the beginning that what derives our decision making is not purely returns, right? And it's absolutely fine because many of the players worldwide, their ultimate objective is to look at the return on investment, right? Which is absolutely fine. However, how we do it at SC Venture, we believe that return on investment would always follow. But what we start with is doing the right thing, right? And even as a bank, as Standard Chartered Bank, we have three valued behavior. The first valued behavior is making sure that we are doing the right thing. And that's why majority, if not all of our investments, of the businesses we've built, the ventures we've created, they are really purpose driven investments. There's a purpose behind building such a business. It, even if it's not a directly sustainable related venture, but it would definitely be something which would, support back certain segment or support back certain community. And this is how our investment committee, this is how our internal filtering works. Even when we sit with some of the startups and when we support some of the initiatives, the first question would be, what's your impact? How are you going to impact? And um, you know, having return without impact for us is not what we are aiming for. And then the impact question would follow that. How would you help support people? How are you supporting the economy? How are you supporting back, the generations and et cetera, et cetera. So for us, that's the question. That's the first question. And if the answer would be addressing that question, then the second question would be, okay, what's your revenue model? What's your business model? How are you making sure that there's a sustainable way of growing the business? But if your return on investment is 1,000,000%, but there is no impact, that does not interest us. So that hopefully answers your first question. Now, speaking about the Middle East very proudly, and with my role as the lead for the Middle East, we've been in the past we've been focusing on you know markets such as Asia, such as UK, and many few other markets. And obviously, as a bank, operationally headquartered in different regions, um, obviously, because we had the teams there, because we had the decision makers there, naturally we've started outside of the Middle East, and Singapore is where we've started the operations there, where we had our CEO, our entire incubation, and the entire team there. Now, 2 years back, and especially post-COVID, we've seen a change in trend. We've seen a huge shift in terms of the maturity of the market, in terms of the interest of doing business and building the fintech ecosystem. And that's when we started having discussions here. And immediately, without hesitation, we've decided to set up our first office in the region, in the Middle East region, and this was here in the UAE. So we've established a presence here. We have an office in the IFC. And in 12 or 15 months, very proudly, we've increased our activities to 8 different businesses and ventures. So currently, today, very proudly, we have 8 different ventures operating here, having establishment here. And considering the short period of time, I think that's a great achievement which I haven't seen in any other regions. That's one. Secondly, we've created engagement and we've created jobs. So we've so far created more than 150 jobs across the UAE. We have signed with several key partners and big names, including government, private sector, family offices, more than 20 strategic partnerships in the region so far. And if what does it show? It shows that people here and the entire market here, they have the trust in SC Ventures, because the partners we've signed are with Ministry of Economy, with the DIFC, with with the Galadari Group, Al Futain, with Emirates Posts, and many others. So I think it's a very proud moment, but of course it comes with a responsibility to make sure that we have the right momentum, and we make sure that that kind of standard is never compromised. Now, where we see some opportunities and where we focus on, maybe just to elaborate more in terms of addressing your second question, um, within the themes, the four themes I've covered, currently our most significant focus is on areas such as SME, small and medium enterprises. We have built in India as a fintech called Solve, SOLV. It just actually got integrated into another large business. Solve is a B2B e-commerce which aims to provide end-to-end digital services to the SME segment with the ultimate objective of growing the SME segment. So many markets, including this part of the world, we have challenges when it comes to SMEs because of the capacity of the SME, because of the credit history of the SME. Financial institutions are a little bit hesitant to fund and finance SMEs. So this platform does not only focuses on providing funding through different banks, but in addition to funding, it provides logistics, it provides, end-to-end, what we call value-added services, which would include your accounting, your taxation, your, government repository, etc., etc., and all in a digital manner. That's something that which we will be announcing in the next few weeks, and exclusively I'm sharing here with the audience that we are in the final stages of setting it up, and this would be going live, in the next few weeks. Now, luckily, we've signed partnerships with people to come and build this, co-create this with us, including Microsoft, including Emirates Post, including Mashruq Bank, including Lulu Finance, and many others. So hopefully this would be something big, and we want to again bring it back to support the community, and it's obviously a way to financially include certain segment which is SME. Otherwise, what we're focusing on is digital assets. Digital assets I referred to. We are building an end-to-end ecosystem. We have two of our businesses, Zodia Markets and Zodia Custody. They've moved their operations, the global operations, to this part of the world, and now it's becoming more and more visible, and it's working with lots of the other ecosystems. In addition to the Zodias, we've also established the Digital Asset Fund in DIFC. Again, it's a global fund. Because of the support we get from the DIFC, because of the regulatory regime, I think that's a great initiative which we've built here. And then we have a few other businesses as well, looking at remittances, looking at KYC onboarding, looking at wealth management tech, all again very much focusing on making sure that they're purpose driven and they have a purpose behind them, not just building a startup for the sake of return. I'll pause here, and again, I'll go through some more detailed examples, but in terms of themes, these are the main themes which we are focusing on currently in the Middle East.
Right, thank you, Mohammed. And also, it's great to hear that you guys are also taking a keen interest in, SMEs and business models with, a great focus on, SDGs. So, given that our session today is focused on sustainable development goals, could you share with us a few examples in the region on SE Ventures' contribution to supporting these sustainable development goals set by the UN?
Perfect. So, a couple of examples, and I'll start with something which is very close to my heart personally, and I've seen the team growing. I'll start with a venture called MyZoi. It's MYZOI, right? And in Greek, it means joy or happiness or something like that, right? So MyZoi, the venture started by focusing on a segment within the UAE, within GCC, within Middle East, and even we see them globally, which may not necessarily have access or full access to financial institutions. These are retail individuals And these are individuals who we refer to as underbanked individuals. And these individuals, because they are laborers, they are underpaid, and they are, they are from certain segment within the region. Um, Lots of financial institutions may not necessarily fully cover them in terms of providing them with the financial facilities, with the bank account, with other financial services. Now, my Zoe, very proudly today, is a regulated entity which started from the UAE. It's regulated by the central bank. We've created a platform which ultimately provides an end-to-end financial support to the blue collar workers. And it's a financial inclusion purpose-driven app or platform. And out of the 17 SDGs we cover through MyZoe, we cover 6 of them very proudly. And using the app and of course offering different languages and making it a very simple way of using the MyZoe app, the application and the platform provides them instant, efficient, and very cost efficient way of doing remittances. Because the use case, how it started, my Zoe, was that laborers today need to wait until their weekend or their off day, need to walk or get a taxi and go all the way to exchange houses. Some corridors and some countries would charge them very highly to remit 500 dirham or 1,000 or whatever. And at the end of the day, we've noticed that this is a real problem. How can we include them financially? How can we make their financial transaction more digitized and cheaper, right? And with the support of the team today, we've been able to sign up with more than 150 corporates where we've onboarded all their laborers. We have more than 30,000 users on the app. Um, and as a result of that, we've reduced the cash illegal hawala, what we call hawala or illegal transfer. We've been able to provide instant remittances to corridors such as India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc., etc. And then using the database, we've been able to provide financial literacy because many of the of the segment I refer to, they don't have the awareness on how to save. They don't have the awareness on how to manage their financial literacy. And that's why we've had lots of successful stories, including, for example, providing financial literacy to noon bike drivers, to some of the other corporates we deal with, and we send our team, we provide them with the literacy of how they can save, how they can manage their money better, how can they plan their financial strategy better. And I can tell you today, we have many successful stories, and the pickup rate on the application and the repeat user on the application has been a great successful story. So that's something which took us time to build, and very proudly, it's a unique proposition which we are providing to the market. And as I said, it covers several SDGs where we go and we provide similar kind of financial inclusion support. Something else which I want to share again very proudly, something which we built here in DIFC, is a venture called Furaha. Furaha is a Swahili word, and again, similarly, it's about joy or happiness. For those who are familiar with the Africa market, so the venture is headquartered in the IFC, currently focusing on Africa. Some of you might understand this even better than me, because in Africa, um, education and school is not something which is easily provided to everyone. Many schools, they charge fee, and as a practice in Africa, parents sometimes are required to take loan from the bank to pay the school fee, right? Now, what Furaha focuses on is we've realized that many of the students, they don't have the ability to attend school because many banks, they don't offer their parents with loans. And that's the reason behind that. The primary reason behind that is because uh, these parents, they are farmers. They come from um, areas or segments or jobs which may not necessarily build a credit history for them. And that's why, because of the limitation from that perspective, um, you know banks and financial institutions would not have the appetite to provide them with loan. Um, what Furaha did, very proudly again, we've been able to provide, and with the support from the telecommunication companies in Africa, we've been able to use AI. We've been able to build up a scoring, an alternative scoring. And today we have supported thousands of students. We have provided them with instant loan. We have provided them with and connected them with financial institutions through the platform. And again, another financial inclusion focused venture, which also aims to raise awareness and raise education and provide education services to the students. Now, what even makes us more and more unique is that these loans are directly paid to the schools. And what happened through the platform is that there is a proper tracking system, making sure that the student attend the class, and then the money is going to the right direction instead of taking it and using it somewhere else, which is not the purpose of the idea. Very proudly, we've opened up and we are fully operationalized in Uganda. We're currently looking at some other markets, and I can tell you very proudly, from the UAE, from the IFC, we are covering a fantastic financial inclusion initiative covering Africa, but headquartered here and fully supported by this region. I have many examples, but I'm looking at the time, and I want to open up as well for people to come and ask questions. So I'll pause here, but these are some very few stories which you know touch us, and share the way how we do business, and confirms what I've mentioned at the beginning, that there should be some purpose driven behind what we do.
Thank you, Mohammed, for that. And also, it's very inspiring, as Tanya said in the chat, what you're doing, especially for me, given that I'm from South Africa, and hopefully you guys look to, start something there as well, maybe improve my home. But like Mohammed has said, I think given the time, we will be opening questions for the chat. So please put your questions and I'll read them out. Okay, so Mohammed, we have a question from Solanji. What are some simple tools or templates for early stage startups to start measuring their impact towards these SDGs?
So look, I'll be very honest with you, and I don't want to make it very complex. So, like any organizations, we have our own KPIs and what we call internally OKRs, right? Which is the KPI. So, you know, facts, statistics, numbers would always provide you a very fair and very factual view, right? So, I wouldn't avoid that. But what we do is we listen, and we focus on feedback. And I can tell you, for example, the my Zoe example, we actually go and sit with the laborers and hear their concerns and understand what's not working well. We go and sit with schools, for example, in Africa, and making sure, okay, how can we make things even better, and how can we measure whether whatever we are doing is successful or not. So in addition to the quantitative approach, or a KPI, I think continuous learning is where make things better. That's how we do it. We love to be challenged. We love to be, um, you know, uh, we love to receive feedback. We are open to receive feedback, and with all my respect to what we do, of course, at the end of the day, there is always room for us to make sure that we are on the right track and whatever. So we have a very systematic way of balancing the qualitative and quantitative approach, where we look at numbers and we closely track the numbers and figures and statistics and making sure that whatever we are building is on the right track. But then we also make sure that we go and check what's the view externally. Now, also worth highlighting something that um, when we provide funding to our startups and ventures, we do it in a milestone manner. So, for example, if we are, as a hypothetical example, if we are funding one of the ventures and providing a $1 million, investment or fund, we would do it in a way where we break it up into milestones, and each milestone would have, um, you know, and there should be subject to one of the achievements. So, for example, if and again going back to financial inclusion, if the target is to achieve a certain number of including students or financially including blue collar workers, before we go and look at the second tranche, I would go back and check whether the first objective has been achieved, and on that basis, I would go and do whatever. So breaking it into milestone and putting interim action would make things much easier and much simpler, and it would make sure that we take prompt action as soon as necessary and as soon as possible.
Right. Thank you very much for that answer. The next question was from Kavya. So looking forward, what do you see at the intersection of entrepreneurship, sustainability, and policy within the UAE?
So, look, I would start by saying that you know we are actually lucky to be here in the UAE, and it's a fact, because what I initially said about accelerating our presence and currently having more than 8 ventures. It wouldn't happen without the support from the entire UAE ecosystem, including the government support, the regulatory support, the support from initiatives and programs such as Ignite. I mean, I haven't seen something like this in many countries, and we have global presence. This is very unique. This is bringing people together as something which is very unique. So when we started here putting our strategy, what really impressed us is that our strategy and the UAE strategy and Dubai economic vision is actually very aligned. And maybe just to give you some examples, when we speak about financial inclusion, or we speak about SMEs, or we speak about digitization, innovation, venture building, these are all included as part of the Dubai and the UAE's vision. So from that perspective, I think it's very key and it's very necessary, because it makes your life much easier as a startup. Um, Tomorrow, if you go and present to an investor or a government entity or a sovereign wealth fund, or, for example, even a client, the messaging, the interest would all be directed towards the right direction and towards the same goals, because the tone from the top, the tone from the government is very, very clear and very, very aligned. So that's very important. Now, my advice here to startups would be very much aware with the government initiatives and the government vision, because again, speaking about the topic of today, ESG as an example, or sustainability as an example, it's a key priority for the UAE. Um, and what that result? It results in opportunity. It results in more initiatives by private and public sector. It results in more opportunities for startup to come and contribute, and of course, in return, be able to seek investors. So, number one is make sure that your strategy is aligned with the government vision. Number two, look for opportunities. I mean, opportunities are there. You just need to be vigilant. You need to be able to turn some of these challenges, some of these gaps in the market into opportunities, and making sure that that's aligned with what the government and the large corporates are doing.
Thank you, Mohammed. We have another question from Suruti. She says that she's operating in the beauty product space, but has a huge connect with cultural foods and flora of the UAE, and that it's significant to the core of the brand. The brand believes in furthering the culture of the land, and in any way would it be possible to help with any sort of help them understand if there are any initiatives or communities that support that type of startup, whether it be SC Ventures, but obviously we're here to support at Ignite as well.
Look, I mean, very interesting. That's my initial reaction. And to be very transparent, I'm not the subject matter expert when it comes to beauty products. Obviously, on a lighter note, my wife would be more experienced and expert on that. But look, um, again, I would bring it back and link it to the economic vision, right? Look at Dubai as an immediate example, and look at what we call D33 or Dubai Economic Vision, right? 2030. One of the key pillars and objective is to increase the population of the UAE. And if you look at the past few years, you would notice that the population is significantly increasing. What does it result? It results that people want and consume more products generally, whether it's food, whether it's grocery, whether it's beauty product, etc., etc. Um, it results in building more infrastructure. It results in building more malls, more retail shops. I mean, for those who've been here in the IFC, an example, 10 years back, the IFC was maybe, I don't know, 20% of the current size. And look at this now, and touch wood. I mean, hope this grows even bigger and bigger. It's still not enough. People are still coming in, and we're still building a new office, a new building. So my view, and again, not specifically referring to any specific product, but generally making sure that we are aligned with the government vision, tracking the way how the population is increasing, and making sure that you know we provide a product which would be fit for the environment and for the market we are resident in. I think that's what really matters. And of course, I mean, making sure that there is a purpose behind it, there is a sustainability angle behind it, would of course would give it even more legitimate.
Thank you for that. So to follow this up, then we have two questions from Siva Ganesan. So I'll actually start with the second question. Is SC Ventures more of a VC or venture studio or an accelerator?
Very good question, by the way, and we get asked a lot. That's why SC Venture is quite unique, because what you see, and rightly asked, you would see either a venture studio or a venture builder or a VC, right? Or sometimes it's an accelerator. We actually combine all of these activities. And if you recall at the beginning of the call, I've mentioned our first core activity is venture building, but we are also very proudly investing, and we have an investment arm. So I wouldn't call it a VC, but it's investments and strategic partners, and these strategic partners should be purpose driven. There should be an angle. There should be a commercial strategic angle where we also invest, and we also make sure that we have a minority investment. So once again, it's very unique, but that's the strength of SC Ventures.
Okay, I hope that's clarified his question. But to follow this up, his initial question was also that assuming SC Ventures focuses primarily on fintech slash finance related use cases, would you be open to incubating slash investing sustainability startups that are not focused on finance?
So look, to be very transparent, there should be a finance slash fintech angle, because at the end of the day, I'll give you an example. Being backed by Standard Chartered Bank, um, I don't think we are experts enough to build a prop tech, for example, or a health tech, right? So something which we don't believe that it's our subject matter expertise, we don't really initiate. We would partner with others. However, most of most of the initiatives and most of the businesses and startups would have, a financial angle, whether it would have remittances, or whether it would be, for example, something to do with trade or whatever. That's what would grab our interest. But again, to be very clear, and I can see also another question on the chat in terms of the stage of investment. Again, very different than VCs. We don't invest for the sake of return. Our minority investments so far are with partners who we work with commercially.
Understood. Thank you very much for those answers. I'm sure they'll find that very valuable. So I think we'll give it another 2, 3 minutes in case anyone has some, last minute questions. And then from there, we'll close the session. But everyone here, please feel free to ask the questions while you still can. I had missed a question actually. So this is from Harsh. How can startups find the correct balance between fast growth and building a socially inclusive and sustainable model?
So again, it's our views, it's SE Venture views, and we've seen it actually in live practice. So we believe that if you build a socially inclusive or a sustainable model venture or a startup, we always believe that, you know growth, revenue, and profit would follow. In fact, it could be a great advantage of even accelerating that. To give you an example, today Furaha, which is headquartered in DIFC, and OPCO is in Africa, because of the initiative and because of the the purpose behind it. Today we don't have the capacity to accept all of the demand we are getting. There's a huge demand from students. There's a huge demand from even banks who would like to integrate and to plug in their financial services through the platform, to provide the financial facilities and loans to students. We don't have the capacity because we need to make sure that the platform, the technology, the tech stack is well equipped to be able to increase the capacity significantly in a short period of time. If you look at the revenue are exceeding budgets, and break even is becoming even sooner and sooner. So one example out of many, once you focus on building something in a sustainable way, in a very socially inclusive way, fast growing would always follow.
Understood. We have, I think, one final question in the chat. Um, and it's from Kavya. So, what advice would you give to someone launching a startup in the UAE with a mission to tackle one of the Sustainable Development Goals?
So I think first of all, and again, not being biased to be here, there is no other better place to set up a startup. UAE is a great country to set up a startup focusing on SDGs and sustainability. So I think the first step is where to set up your startup, and the UAE clearly has it ticks almost all of the boxes for in terms of location. Um, I think what we follow, again, that's SC Venture, is partnership model. That's again an advice. I would say while you're setting up your startup, um, you know, while you're at the initial phase, make sure that you have the right partners in place. And when I say the right partner might not commercially provide support and come and get involved, but the right partner and the end user would be able to provide the right advice and would be able to provide the right use cases to make sure that whatever efforts, whatever time, money spent is at the right direction. That's how we do it. And the SME venture, for example, which I referred to, is exactly currently being built in partnership with others. Because if you do something and if you look at it from a one side perspective, you might not necessarily see the bigger picture. That kind of support from partners, from vendors, from the ecosystem, I think that would be the great initiative, and that's how we built FinTech Bridge, for example. So the digital platform which we've built, FinTech Bridge, ultimately helps people to come put an idea on the chat, use AI to redefine the idea, and then bring the entire ecosystem to provide views, to challenge, and to make sure that you know we prove the concept before we go ahead and before we rush and spend money and build something which could be a bit late in stage to rectify and adjust and amend, and it's a waste of time and money.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think, given the time, we'll have to start closing now. But thank you very much for the valuable insights. And if you want to learn more from him or others like him, feel free to either book a session or reach out to us at mentorship@ignite.ae, and we'll help support you getting a session with our mentors. But we also have some announcements. We have an event upcoming, the Venture School Masterclass with Dipesh Savani and Amit Patel on the 30th of May. So make sure to check that out. We also have two challenges up and running with you and Ruya Bank. So if you want to win the prizes there, make sure to participate and submit your solutions. But lastly, we'll also be dropping a feedback form in the chat. Please let us know your thoughts on this session. We'll only take about 3 minutes of your time, but thank you, everyone, and I hope to see you all at the next event. And thank you again, Mohammed, for taking this session for our community. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks to you guys. And honestly, once again, great platform, great initiative. I think we can do a lot together. I'm here to support. I'm here to provide guidance, mentorship, of course. With my very busy schedule, I will try to accommodate everyone as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to reach me out, and we can connect whenever you see me here in the IFC or the UAE. But once again, thank you very much to Ignite and team, and looking forward to even accelerating this initiative even further and further. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, everyone, hope you have a great rest of your day and look forward to seeing you guys at the next event. Take care.